I have some pretty strong beliefs that humans can relate on wanting to be understood. Fear that if people knew who they really were, then they would be unlovable. And like all the ways that impacts how we show up and who we are, what we think about ourselves. External experiences throughout my life that have really just solidified that for me on how terrifying it is to risk rejection. Because connection is something that's so meaningful for me. And I think humans, animals even, like we need others. And to risk possibly being rejected or ostracized is almost like on a very deep fight or flight survival thing. And I don't even think we consciously are thinking like, oh, I need to like pretend that I'm not so emotionally unhinged so that people like me or I'm like acceptable.
I feel like you can take that though.
Oh yeah, that's like
yeah. So sometimes our guests come on and I'm just like, I'm not sure I have the rapport to really banter back and forth and to kind of be a smart ass.
Yeah. No, so, please.
And you're gonna have to 4 to 6 inches. Don't eat it.
Stop telling me how to live my life.
Now you broke it.
That's what I do. I have a question. I haven't even asked you about this. What's the purpose and intention with this podcast? What are you trying to do?
Be famous. I'm just kidding. I'm trying to. So, it's a good question. The purpose and the intention of the podcast.
Love that you looked at him like
is to stroke my ego on basically being a boss. I'm just kidding.
I feel like that's not what that is.
No, it's not what it is. So, 8 domains. You're. By the way, you're blowing up my strategy here. I just told Ryan, I was like, from now on, I'm going to start the podcast by just asking this question, and then we're going to go from there. So the purpose of the podcast is to talk about this coaching model that I developed over the last 2 or 3 years of seeing clients. I call it the 8 domains. And it's something that some of the other therapists use. Especially, it's a really good tool to use when you're kind of stuck with a client and like they come in and they don't have a whole lot to talk about, and then you just start asking this question, which I'm going to ask you in a moment, of how do you want to experience yourself? Is somebody knocking on the door?
I think so.
Come in.
Paparazzi.
Hey, Rudy, you're supposed to be in the neurofeedback room right now.
Oh.
So please go there. Love you.
I love that. How do I want to experience my life?
No. How do you want to experience you?
This is the camera that's recording. Mm-hmm. Can you see my face entirely, or is it blocked with the microphone?
I got you.
Okay.
Yeah, you're good. So
I don't care about these things.
The 8 domains are this: the physical. So how do you want to experience yourself in your physical body? Mm-hmm. How do you want to feel? How do you want to move? How do you want to exist in that physical body? Then the spiritual the emotional mental. So how do you want to experience yourself with your thoughts and your emotions? Okay. How do you want to interact with them? What type of experience do you want to have spiritually or inspirationally? That's the 3rd domain. The 4th domain is relationally. So everything that's not your significant romantic partner or partners, depending on where you're at. Then the romantic domain. And then the vocational, which is not necessarily what you do for money, but it is what you do for meaning. So how do you contribute and build and produce? And then there's the financial domain. How do you want to experience yourself in the context of money, of currency, of saving, spending, earning, all of the above? And then recreational. How do you want to experience yourself as someone who is recreating yourself, your energy, your ideas, your perspectives, yourself?
Yeah.
And so that is kind of the content that we talk about on the 8 domains, but we also talk about anything and everything else that kind of comes up organically from there. Does that answer your question?
That what you're going to ask me?
No.
Oh.
Of like, what is the purpose and the intent? I mean, obviously the purpose and the intent is like, if we can get enough viewers who are interested in this and the production is, there to attract eyes and ears, and it's things that people are finding helpful, then I would love to make money off of this as in everything else that I do in life.
Okay. So there's like psychoeducational piece to it, but also a very like human life in between therapy kind of existence pieces to it.
Yeah, and so I've had conversations with other therapists. I've had conversations with other business owners. Like I've had conversations with Milton and Alex at Liberdage.
Saw them.
Adam Woolard, who's Hannah Brown's husband. She was on The Bachelorette, and then he also trained. Most of my connections are through jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
You included.
I know Wade too, by the way.
Oh, Wade? Mm-hmm. Wonder Wade?
Sounds and looks like Ted Lasso Wade.
Oh no, that's a different Wade. But yeah, Wade is super cool. He seems like sweet, salt of the earth type of guy.
I mean, he is Ted Lasso, so
yeah, he kind of
salt of the earth. Love
him. But yeah, so I've got Emily Thorndike from New York City via TikTok is how I know her. So I've invited her to Nashville. She's going to be here next weekend. She's a dialectical behavioral therapist, and I think that those people are diamonds in the rough of therapy, people who are willing to do full fidelity DBT with borderline personality clients. Yep. Like, holy shit, let's talk.
Yeah.
And then on Halloween, we're having Michael DeBay, who's just another connection through jiu-jitsu, but he's a stand-up comedian. And I'm just like, okay, how do you want to experience yourself in the context of speech, in the context of expression, of public perception, things like that? So those are the types of conversations. I mean, like bucket list would be like Jelly Roll and Theo Von. Like to just sit here.
Interesting.
Maybe not at the same time, but they're local Nashville guys.
Yeah.
And they've both gone through this evolution of becoming, and they are still becoming.
Yeah.
And so I'm super curious about the intersection of like, what type of relationship must you have with yourself emotionally and mentally to be in the spotlight like you're in, to maintain your sanity, and to continue to like seemingly show up as authentically as you possibly can in all of those different spotlights that are on you.
They're both like in recovery too, so I think that's really interesting. When you said both of them, I was like,
yeah,
interesting, because it is that like recreation of self.
Yeah. So those would be the bucket lists. We had Evan Slaughter, who's kind of a local influencer as well. His handle on Instagram and TikTok is Fit to Serve, and he's super into, I think, like,
he follows me.
Does he really?
I think so.
The pickleball and the CrossFit space. He's a former veteran, or not a former veteran. He's a veteran who ended up with an injury, that ended up with an opioid addiction, who ended up with a weight loss journey of losing over 100 pounds, and just like talking about all of that and how he stays connected to himself and to his community and what he values. Like, that was a really interesting conversation too. So
I love this.
Yeah.
I also want to like add to your bucket list of people. So
well, who would be your bucket list? So if you were to convince someone to come on, obviously you'd be able to sit on the couch with them while we talk to them. That's the deal.
Fuck, I'd have to think about it. But Lady Gaga comes to mind.
That would be an interesting one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I'm like, I wish George Carlin were alive and we would bring him on. Bring Bukowski on. They're all dead.
Mitch Hedberg, also dead. I would love to have a conversation with him to see if he's really that way, or if that was I feel
shtick. Like it would just like turn into like a big old blunt rotation thing happening. So okay. All
right. So can I get back to the actual
what you wanted?
What I wanted to do?
Not what
this
I wanted.
Is about me. I just need everybody to know. All right. So here's the question. now that I've given you the rundown and the overview, Lauren Kelly, other than who your boyfriend is and other than where you work, I know nothing about you. So how do you want to experience yourself?
Damn. You know, honestly, when you ask that of like, I know nothing about you. So like, here's your opportunity to like, who are you kind of thing. I just had this whole moment of like, I have so much appreciation for my existence so far and like ways that I've lived through it. And I swear it's felt like so many different lifetimes. So already I was like, oh, God, yes. Very rich. I want to continue feeling very like rich in a very I don't know, like fully deeply experienced. I don't know where to start with that question.
It's a big, broad question.
Yeah, there's a lot of areas.
Yeah, so let me help. So what I heard just now is that you value experiencing yourself within a deeply rich experience. So deeply rich, what does that mean?
So deeply rich means like so like engulfing. I think a lot of experiences, things that have been really meaningful in my life, I've experienced them very deeply, and that doesn't mean that it was always pleasant. I think you have to really take in some of the like unpleasant pieces into existence to fully experience it. So it's almost this like a appreciation for like some of the pain and darkness that is involved in the human experience. Because not to be like too cliche, but like really, really having some of that richness, even though it's unpleasant, does allow you to really, really appreciate.
So are you
lightness.
saying that part of your value that you hold for yourself and the experience that you want to have for yourself, and maybe we're talking about emotional mental domain is kind of where I'm treading into of you. It sounds like you value being able to hold space for your grief and understanding that a part of that grief is acceptance. It's not the end point, but it's a part of a almost like a never-ending process. So like when you lose someone you love or tragedy strikes you, we want to rush so quickly to just like get over it.
Yeah.
I don't know that we need to. I don't think that that's healthy for,
yeah.
I don't, like if I lost one of my kids, I would, if somebody told me to get over it, we'd be fighting. Right? Like, well, you just need to come to accept it. No, fuck you. Right? But like, there might be moments of acceptance to where I'm not like beaten by it constantly.
Right.
But I don't think that, I think that that is a part of the richness of a human experience is accepting and making space for grief to exist, which I don't think people talk about a lot of times, which is interesting that we're arriving there.
I have this like lens of like seeking out where grief is because it does show up in so many different ways. It's not just the loss of a person. Like grief is in everything, right? Loss of the future you thought you would have, loss of who you used to be, loss of your identity, just with different changes.
Well, I think of like, there's a saying that I've heard that all change equals loss. Even positive change.
Yeah.
So, I've changed a ton over the last 5 years or so. I got my license in October. I passed my exam October 5th, 2020.
Oh.
And so by November, I was in private practice for myself. And by February, we had incorporated as an LLC. And by June, I had hired people. So like I'm coming up on 5 years of vocationally, but not just vocationally, but financially, relationally, I've evolved and changed in so many good ways. And then there are still versions of me in the past that are gone. And I grieve some of that as well. Even though it's better now.
Yeah.
There's still, I look back and I'm just like, there's a loss there.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lost version of myself that didn't get to come with me to where I am today.
Well, yeah, growing pains. I mean, that's exactly what that is, right? Like, growth is great. We want growth, but it also hurts at times.
Yeah.
In different ways. And I love that you were like, well, change is grief. Because, like, that's the one consistent thing about our existence, is that we're, like, constantly changing, constantly evolving, even on, like, a cellular level. Like, me 5 minutes ago, I'm slightly different than I was. And that can be really sad in ways, especially when it's like, oh, I used to be so, like, innocent and, like, just so precious. And, like, you know, then I got jaded in life or whatever, you know, and there's parts of, like, grieving younger parts of you, less textured versions of yourself. So yeah, I think you're exactly right when you say, like, oh, I'm kind of picking up on, like, grief. You mean to, like, allow yourself to experience grief. Absolutely.
So many people, they rush through it, or they avoid it, or they become annoyed at themselves. Because if you look at, you know, as we understand grief as an experience of 5 states of being, of the shock and the disbelief, the denial of it all, and then the bargaining of it, of like, what if, shoulda, coulda, woulda, you know, if only, what if I do this, maybe this will change that, you know, bargaining with it. And then there's the anger, and then the depression, and then the acceptance. We think that we're supposed to go through the first 4 somehow in this, like, perfect linear way and arrive at this end point of, like, being on the summit of grief and looking out, and it all makes sense.
And on a time frame.
And that's not how that works.
No.
And so I was, this is why I love doing a podcast like this, because I had not planned on talking about grief, but we have not talked about grief, and grief is such a universal experience that we all share. And I've never heard anybody express that one of their values is being able to live in the grief, or to allow grief to be a normal part of their life. It's usually something that we try to avoid like the plague, because it is so connected to pain and loss and, you know, hurt.
Well, and kind of like you said too, I think there's this, like, general idea that it's on a timeline, it's linear. I should be over this divorce in 6 months. I should be over this death in a year. I should be over these things. Or, like, this is a great thing. I just graduated college, but I'm feeling some kind of grief about it. Like, I think it's very misunderstood. And because it's not talked about, and also, like, I just wish it was so much more normalized and not seen as like, this dark thing to avoid. I mean, I hear it so many times of, like, well, it's just this. I don't understand why I'm still struggling with it. You know, like, I lost my pet, and it's just crazy. I feel stupid for feeling grief about that. It's like, no. No, feel it, because that's so deep.
And one of the most recent things that's come up in my work with is the loss of pregnancy. And like what you said was, it's not just the loss of the embryo, right? And but it's the loss of an entire future. It's the loss of all of those dreams. And, you know, like, I've been through that with my wife. We went through it 3 times. And each time I had already danced with them at their weddings. I had already seen them in my mind graduate from high school and college, and I had already played with my grandkids in my mind. Like, you build this dream of what life is going to be like, and then it is all of a sudden yanked out from under you, and it's truly loss.
Yeah.
And each one of them have a name, and each one of them have a place that is memorialized in our home, that we hold space for them, that they did matter, they did exist, they represented dreams and hopes and ideas and plans, and that mattered.
Yeah.
And then other people who have not gone through that experience might look at that and be like, well, that's a little extra, you know. I'm like, well, you don't know until you know. And if you have gone through something like that and you don't do things like that, that's also not wrong. Yeah. And I think that's the uniqueness of grief.
Yes.
Is that there's no right way. There's no one right way to do it. There might be some wrong ways to bypass it, to avoid it, to, you know, numb it over time and just never really get around to looking at it and dealing with it. That might not be the most effective thing to do.
I still wouldn't say it's the wrong way, though.
Probably not the best.
I feel like it's just missing out.
Yeah.
When you're talking about that, too, I thought of, like, you had already, you're thinking about the future you're going to have. You had already had this shift of, like, I'm going to be a father to them as well. And, like, you lost getting to experience that, too. That part of, like, your own existence of being a father to it.
Yeah.
And I have such a fascination with identity development, what it means, how it changes. It's so different for every single person. I'm forever fascinated by that. And it kind of goes along with what you said of, like, I just blanked. Everyone grieves differently.
Well, everyone grieves differently, and everyone's answer to the question, which I think the foundational question of, like, your identity, who are you, is what type of experience do you want to have with yourself?
Yeah.
Not what type of experience do I hope other people have of me?
Yeah, that's totally different.
Now, they're connected, because if I value experiencing myself as being honest, safe, protective, loving, generous, other people, if I'm living within that set of values, other people are going to experience me that way often.
Yeah.
And I can also be completely misunderstood at no fault of my own. So, like, if I go out and I want to be generous and I feel compelled to, like, hand somebody on the street, you know, that I think is struggling, I think I'm just being generous. They think I'm being patronizing, you know, or rude by giving them, which I don't like just walk around handing people things, but you see what I'm saying? Like, there's some loss in translation, but that doesn't, just because that person doesn't experience me the way that I had hoped that they would, doesn't mean that I'm still not experiencing myself the way that I want to experience myself.
I think for me, when I said, like, oh yeah, those are totally different things, what I mean to that is I do have a little bit more control over how I experience myself, whereas other people, if I'm living with my values and I'm aligned with all of these things, I still have no say on how they read me. You know, I think it's in the 4 agreements or something where they talk about, you know, there's all of us in this room and I might think I'm being presented a certain way. You're going to receive me one way. Another person's going to receive me a different way. Certain things will stand out differently for people, to where, like, the idea of I can even pretend to have control over how another person sees me, feels about me, thinks about me is so not real.
Yeah.
And I think that is kind of part of how I want to experience myself, is I just want to experience myself and not be so concerned of, is it acceptable to other people? Am I digestible to others? Is this going the way I want it to? Because, like, no, it's not. That's part of being a human, is, like, I don't get to decide how things go. I have some parts in it, but.
Yeah, and the saying, it's easy to stop worrying about how much people think about you when you realize how little they do. You know, I've heard that circulated around on Instagram and TikTok, on other podcasts, and I think that's what you're getting at, is, like, we really don't have any control.
Yeah.
Like, I can be the most reliable, dependable, you know, trustworthy person in the world, but if someone else is operating with a skeptical filter that life that was completely apart from me gave them, I can't overcome that. That's not my job to overcome it. My job is to not convince everybody to think I'm a good person. My job is to just be the person that I want to be. And that's it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, it kind of goes back to the grief on how it's so different for everyone. And it's, even when you've experienced it multiple times, it's different each time. It's not the same.
Mm-hmm.
They like pull on each other, but it's not the same. I think it's to get to finally be to a place where that is something that you stick to, not trying to determine how I'm perceived, not trying to like manipulate that, change it, is such a liberating idea. It's so freeing, terrifying, by the way. Like, I mean, I can want that all the time and still I'm a human and I do care. So,
yeah.
But I mean, I like depends on what lens they're coming from. What experiences have they had that have influenced their core beliefs, how they view the world, how they view themselves, other people. Like, I have nothing to do with that. And sometimes that's really frustrating because, like, just want to.
Yeah.
But that goes into this, like, people are so fascinating and so beautifully unique that I can never meet the same person twice. No way. And I love that as being a human and as part of my experience of existing.
Yeah, and I think the conversation that we're having now is like, it's one that's lost in the real world because people believe that what the algorithm is feeding them is the way the world actually is. And so, you know, you get exposed to such extremes from all corners of thought and ideas and beliefs that you start to feel, I think, unique and special in the human experience of like just disconnected from people. And so then people become your enemies somehow because they're so different. They're so far removed from your concept of what is right and wrong. And I think when you sit down and you actually start to have conversations with people and you become curious, then again, going back to loss, you lose a sense of like your unique specialness, you know, your terminal uniqueness.
Yep.
Right? You lose that
Yeah.
when you just sit down and have another conversation with a human being where you might have different ideas on the means, but the outcomes are almost always the same. We all kind of want the same things.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the unifying factor that we miss out on because we're taught or we're propagandized to believe that that person wants something completely different than what I want. And that, I think, is the linchpin to all of what we're seeing in the world today, is as long as we can convince people that they are diametrically opposed in the type of experience that they want to have with themselves, then we can keep them distracted and arguing with each other.
Yeah.
But when we just have a conversation and we're talking about universal human experiences of grief, of relationships, of joy, of physicality, we kind of all want similar things.
Yeah.
But how you value investing in them is where I think the disparity comes, which again, like if from like a financial domain perspective, like if you value individual stocks, like that's your approach, that's your strategy, that's how you're going to amass wealth. And I disagree. I think mutual funds and 401ks and Roth IRAs are the way to go. Like, we can still be friends.
It's crazy.
Because we both want the same thing. We both want financial freedom, independence, stability, safety, security. You know, we're just going about it in different ways, and that's okay.
Yeah. I love the direction that this is going in. It just makes my heart feel so big. Because, I mean, it really is this, like, recognizing... Well, I think it's part of that change and that evolving and growing of, like, you recognize that you're not the only one having some of the feelings and experiences that you're having. You recognize that other people don't view things the same way. I mean, even when you think of like children being able to see, like look at that, and like what you see when you look at that's different than what I see. You don't even know what I'm pointing to, but that helps.
Pictures of my children.
No, actually, it was the box of cards, but.
Oh, I thought you were. Oh, okay.
Yeah. See, perfect example too.
That
of,
is
like,
so perfect.
Yeah, just like coming to terms with that is part of that expanding the experience of existing. I mean, I'm in so much awe of it, and I don't think a single day goes by that I'm not like, holy shit, being a human is so fucking crazy. Sorry about the language. But I mean, it's just
how fucking dare you?
I know. It's if I try to control everything and make everything a certain way, you know, like I'm directing everything, I would be missing out on so much stuff. Like experiences happen all the time that I could have never imagined happening, and it just blows me away with so much appreciation that that's even part of reality.
Yeah. It's oftentimes so you're pointing to a few other values.
I love values.
So you use the word, I think you used the word awe. You either used awe or wonder.
Definitely didn't use wonder, so
then
it's
it was awe.
Yeah.
And that's one of my inspirational values. Is I value being able to connect with a sense of awe, which is not me trying to figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not me trying to understand and make sense of it. That's wonder. Awe is just amazement.
Yeah.
And allowing it to be bigger and beyond me. And not trying to explain it, but to accept that it is. Like I don't need to understand all of it. I don't need to make sense of other people sometimes.
Yeah.
I can just be amazed.
Yeah.
At their capacity, at their cruelty, at their, unpredictability. So I can just kind of be amazed at it. And then you said something else that now has blanked out of my head. So
I think it was the F-bomb.
It was the F-bomb.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. The awe. I think also when I'm looking at my personal values, beauty is one of them, but in the sense of I want to be able to recognize and see the beauty in the things around me. And that goes into like how I feel about grief and how I feel about like things that aren't necessarily pleasing.
Oh, and yes, the beauty of things of like you bring up, like we talk about grief, we talk about loss, tragedy, and one of the beautiful things in that is that it's so revealing. So what I mean by this, I had a personal experience that I woke up one morning to what I perceived as tragedy. I'm not going to go into all of the details because they're mine. But it forced me into a position that I have not been in as an adult. I'm 43 years old. And it forced me to go to my wife and ask for help. And that's not something that I do well.
Yeah.
But I had no other option. I needed help. And that was such a monumental moment to where, like, on the surface, it was tragedy. On the surface, it was stress and panic and shame and embarrassment. But the outcome of that, what it forced me into, was connection and intimacy and vulnerability. And then the experience of having someone show up for me to really support me in exactly the way that I needed to be supported. Whereas otherwise, I don't know that I ever would have been able to have that experience without the tragedy that was the catalyst for all of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the beauty sometimes in it. And what I don't want, that's a specific, unique situation to me to where this principle applies. There are other tragedies that I don't know that we need to say, well, you just need to look on the bright side.
Right. Or
you need
like,
to look for the beauty in it.
It happened for a reason.
It happened for a reason. No, that's not at all where I'm venturing, but I am saying that there are some situations in which we perceive them as tragedy on the front end. and then they force us to grow and to challenge ourselves and to push ourselves into positions that are uncomfortable for our own good.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, it brought you connection. And that too is one of the like most, I'm going to keep using the same words, but like one of the best experiences of being a human is to connect with another human. It's just, we need that as humans, but it's also just like so rich.
Yeah. And yeah, so like the you know who Simon Sinek is?
No.
He's kind of a leadership guru, CEO, coach. He's written some
I give
books.
off the vibe that
I've
I'm
got a
like really
couple
big on that.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a couple of his books over there. But he says that trust in relationships is not built on offering help. Trust in relationships is built on asking for help.
Yeah.
Because it's and you know, whenever I asked my wife for help, it was almost like she was excited. She was like, absolutely, yeah, anything I can do. Like, I'm not, and I kept saying, I'm sorry. Yep. She's like, no, don't be sorry. Like, I'm excited. I'm happy to help. And you know, because it's such a unfamiliar experience probably for her.
Yeah. Well, you are literally showing someone a very deep, vulnerable part of you that you don't typically give, you know? And so I think, like, I wish we could do like a whole podcast on just like the openness and vulnerability about talking about things that isn't the norm to talk about. Because I have never felt more close to another human than when we have like shared our parts of our character we don't like talk about things that we dislike about ourselves, or we feel shameful about, or just like things that we're learning about ourselves with another person. And to know that, again, you're not terminally unique. Like other people can relate to that too is like mind-blowing, and it never stops. And I love that.
So the terminal uniqueness is a big thing that gets people stuck. I mean, you wanna get unstuck, like you said, like go find a place in which you can talk about yourself transparently and openly, and watch people who are there say, yeah, me too. Like, I think that's the power of like AA rooms, 12-step rooms of all types, whether it's Narcotics Anonymous, Sexaholics Anonymous, whatever it is, for you to go in and you share the most embarrassing moments of your story, and then other people are just there and be like, yeah, yeah, me too.
Yeah,
you know?
And it just feels so intimate.
Right. And so, again, how do you want to experience yourself? It sounds like you have a value relationally of experiencing yourself as being seen, of being transparent, of being, but in the way you invest in that is through courageous vulnerability.
Yeah.
And that is an oxymoron. Or I'm not an oxymoron. That's a redundancy to say it that way. Courageous vulnerability, because you can't have vulnerability without the courage. Right. But I think most people think of vulnerability as weakness, when it's really not weakness. It's courage.
Oh yeah,
it's courage to show your shadow, your dark side.
Yeah, I have so much love for that. Because that's absolutely some of my values. I mean, I have some pretty strong beliefs that humans can relate on wanting to be understood, wanting to be seen. This fear that if people knew who they really were, then they would be unlovable. And like all the ways that impacts how we show up and who we are, what we think about ourselves. And I mean, I think even there were just external experiences throughout my life that have really just solidified that for me. On how terrifying it is to risk rejection, because connection is something that's so meaningful for me. And I think humans, animals even, like we need others. And to risk possibly being rejected or ostracized is almost like on a very deep fight or flight survival thing. And I don't even think we consciously are thinking like, oh, I need to like pretend that I'm not so emotionally unhinged so that people like me, or I'm like acceptable, when it is that shadow stuff of like, I'm literally rejecting a part of myself and saying, I can't even look at that. That's not okay. And so when I've seen other people that are like, they embrace their shadow, it's been one of the most like admirable things I've seen in a person. And I want to also live my life in that same way. Like, I just am who I am. Yeah, I care if you like me or not. Absolutely. But I don't want to limit how I experience my life because I'm afraid of being rejected. I'm afraid of feeling like there's something wrong with me. Like, where does that shit even come from? I don't know.
Well, and I think that's what we talked about that. I talked about that in a couple of episodes ago when it was just me, and I was talking through the 8 domains and just kind of doing a refresh of what all of them were. And when we talk about the romantic domain, and then even also like I've had recent sessions with clients about conflict they're having with friends, to where they're discovering all of the ways in which they edited themselves down and they swallowed their own concerns or complaints because they didn't want to lose the relationship.
Yeah.
And what that did is it just stalls the inevitable, right? And so, like, especially in dating, you know, I talk a lot about dating with clients sometimes, and the best advice I give them is to be yourself from the very beginning, because you're going to show up eventually.
Yeah.
Right? And so, are you making a comment because I'm repeating myself like an old man?
I was mouthing it with you.
Yeah.
And your little monologue right there, that's the hook that starts the podcast. That was good.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
That was good.
So, but yeah, just be yourself from the very beginning, because you're going to show up eventually. And when you show up, if you're not the person you were in the beginning, you have brought about the inevitable just weeks or months later than it needed to come.
With more pain, too.
With a lot more pain. And so what you're talking about of like, yes, I want people to like me, but I'm not going to edit down the way I live my life to please you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's not the same thing as being rude or inconsiderate or selfish and entitled. But I'm going to value the things I value. I'm going to do the things I say all the time. Like, I say this more to married couples, of they've been married 5, 6, maybe they hit the 7-year itch, and they're just miserable because they're both editing themselves down to the version that they think that their partner wants them to be. And so they're living all of these like minimized, shrunken, inhibited lifestyles, and they're resentful of each other.
Yeah.
And so my thing that I try to take them back to is like, you got to remember, the version of each other that you fell in love with existed before you knew each other.
Yeah.
So like the version of my wife that I fell in love with had nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
I didn't know her. And so that's what made me fall in love with her, was the mystery and the curiosity. And so like, what do you do with that 7, 10, 12 years into a relationship or even further? Well, you have to have space between the two of you. And so Esther Perel says the erotic lives in the space between two people. So all of the intrigue and the attraction and the curiosity and the passion lives in the space between the two of you.
Yeah.
And if you're just stuck up each other's asses and you don't have any unique experiences, relationships, or any ideas that are independent of one another to talk about, to argue over, to debate, like, then where is the erotic? Well, it doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And so then you get resentful because you're living this eroticless, passionless life with this person that you're just kind of obligated to because you signed a piece of paper in a church one day.
Yeah.
And that's miserable. And so, yes, like I need to live a full experience as myself. And that's the best thing that I can do for my marriage, for my kids, for my company, for my friends.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I love so much about that. My grandparents were married for 71 years. They're both dead now. Absolutely love them. Biggest like role models in my life. And also probably one of the only examples of a healthy relationship I've ever seen. And 71 years is a long time. And like we were saying earlier on like change, we're always changing. So like you're not going to be with the same person when you first met them.
Yeah.
I'm changing, they're changing, together we're changing. Like, and to be okay with that. Like, just accept it. Have curiosity.
It.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not just accept it retroactively of like, oh, well, they've changed. But like, be looking at their, like, I think another thing that we don't do is we don't pay attention to the way we're changing.
Yeah.
You know, like, we're kind of mindless about it and just, you know, so like, if you're paying attention to the incremental little micro changes as they're happening, you can talk about it.
Yeah.
And question it. Instead of you wake up 5 years later and there's a completely different person waking up next to you in the bed and you're just like, I don't even know you.
Yeah.
Well, it's because you weren't paying attention.
Yeah.
You weren't going out on dates and asking questions. You weren't.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, man. The Gottmans have the 8 Dates book, which
Yeah.
I recommend that to couples all the time because it doesn't matter how long you've been together. There are certain topics that, like, they're uncomfortable to talk about. We feel vulnerable about them. But to understand each other on topics like finances, on topics about, like, safety and honesty and loyalty, what that means, I think that's one of the, like, key pieces that, again, is a value of mine, is like to remain curious always, not judge, not try to control or filter or anything. Just like, oh, I didn't see that happening.
So curiosity is a value.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I'm in the field that I am, because as a kid, I was already so interested in different personalities and what makes people who they are. Because, I mean, even I've got siblings. We're not alike in a lot of ways, but we're from the same cloth, grew up the same way. What makes us different? Yes, absolutely. And I just, again, I have so much awe for it. You were talking a little bit earlier on, like, okay, we'll go like 5-6 years into a marriage, and then it's like, oh, well, I've been like watering down parts of myself for this person, and now I'm resentful. I'm not sure if Goosebumps was ever a part of your life growing up, but there is a story with Goosebumps called The Haunted Mask. And this, you know who it is, yeah. This girl feels like she's, she's perceived as like really weak, easy to walk all over, meek, quiet. And around Halloween, she finds a really, really scary mask that she picks out. She's like, oh, this is perfect. I can like scare people with it. I'll experience what it's like to not be taken seriously. And then she starts wearing it a lot, often. And it's a haunted mask. It's Goosebumps here. So it starts actually like attaching to her to where
Like,
she can't get it off.
Is this like Jim Carrey the Mask?
It's scarier.
Listen, we can do a whole nother thing on Jim Carrey. I used to write him love letters when I was a kid and cry at night because he didn't write me back. That's for another day. You wanted to know me. Here we are.
Here we go. Yeah, I love it.
The mask like started attaching to her, becoming part of her and taking over. And when I think of masks, because we all have masks, that's how we survive in society. But I think it's such a like, it's tricky because if you wear a mask too much, you start getting confused on who you are and what's the mask and feel like you can't even take it off. And that again is, let's go back to grief, loss of like, I mourn the person I was before I even had this mask. I mourn what my life could have been like if I didn't have this mask. So I'm really big on that. Like, no, take the mask off. That's one of the things I love about being a therapist is like to actually get to hold a space for a person to feel safe enough to take a mask off and like be vulnerable without fear of being judged, fear of like typical social consequences, like I'm gonna judge them for something. Like that's not my role. I'm just there to like see you.
I think that that's a really important description of why someone might need to go to therapy. I think a lot of times people think that the only time that they need to go to therapy is if they're depressed or they're anxious or they're having relationship issues.
Yeah.
What you're getting at is kind of like what we do in the 8 domains is like, who do you want to be really?
Yeah.
Because your family has told you who you're supposed to be.
Yes.
Your friends have told you
Yeah.
who you're supposed to be. Your job tells you who you're supposed to be. The geography in which you were born by some randomization of genetics tells you who you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Right? Like your religious upbringing or lack thereof tells you who you're supposed to be. Who do you want to be? What is yours and what is everyone else's? And I'm not saying throw the bathwater or the baby out with the bathwater, but it's like, what do I actually want to retain of this identity that everything and everyone else has forced upon me?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you have to see a therapist to be able to do that. I'm saying that you will do that with the right therapist. You can do that more effectively, more efficiently, with guidance and reflection and encouragement and validation, with the help of a therapist. So yeah, I think that is that exploration of self and the discovery of self is as valid, if not even more valid of a reason. I'm not sure that there's a competition for valid reasons to go to therapy. But yeah, anyway, so that's such an important detail of like, why would someone consider going to therapy if they're not depressed, if they're not anxious? Like, do you really need to go to therapy? Well, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe if that's something that you need to sort out, and you would benefit from having someone else in the room with you to ask some questions, to reflect back to you inconsistencies, to hold you accountable.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we won't do that for ourselves. We won't notice our inconsistencies, or we'll give ourselves a pass when we're...
I'm so good with denial. I will convince myself so much stuff.
Oh, me too. Not just denial, but just like... what's the word of just like a lack of personal accountability, of just like, I'll just give myself a pass. Justification or rationalization. Yeah. That an objective other party would be like, well, that seems like an inconsistency, or that doesn't seem congruent with what you said last week. And then I have to deal with that. Yeah.
It makes me think of like, there's things about myself that you don't know about me. There's things that you might know about me right this minute that I'm not even aware of. Like if I have like stuff in my teeth or something. And so like being able to include other sources to understand yourself, to know yourself more, that too, I value. To like, I want to know me, all of it. The things I like, the things I don't like, I don't care. Like if it's part of the human experience, please let me experience it. Because again, that vulnerability, that I'm not too scared to, like, I can't look at you. It's not that I don't, to feel like somebody doesn't need to look away when I'm at my most natural, organic, true self. Like, I'm the person who starts that, you know? And I think therapy is a big piece of that.
What do you mean by that? I think that's an important thing. You're the person who starts that. Say more about that.
'Cause I am myself. I know what I think I know about myself. And if there's a part of me that refuses to face something, if there's a part of me that just rejects something, if there's a part of me that just does not like feeling cringe about myself, then there's a good, I don't know, me personally, avoidance is a coping skill that I love. Avoid those parts. I don't even know those parts. I'm not even giving myself the opportunity to know what it's like to love myself. And like, why would I want to miss out on that? I'm giving other people not the opportunity to love parts of me too. And I love so many weird parts about people.
What I think is ironic is that, not always, but I think a lot of times people extend love and acceptance towards others in ways that they wish they could show towards themselves. Yeah. But they don't. Mm-hmm. Right? I think that when you said that you lead in like, you said something about like, I want to be my most authentic self without people feeling like they have to look away. Yeah. And then you lead in that. And it immediately had this image of like, seeing yourself fully, light, dark, good, bad, everything in between, and accepting it. I know that we don't have a ton of time. It's 2:05, but I know that you and I have talked about maybe doing a podcast on like psychedelics.
Yeah.
And not one of the most profound experience I've ever had with myself was the first time I, had an experience with psychedelics. And I'll share the whole story another time, but essentially went through every problematic aspect of my personality. Fear, hurt, shame, and ego.
Yeah.
And standing in the presence of each of them in a non-combative way, in an accepting way, it was just something powerful about that experience of having this, this substance-induced but visceral, so real feeling experience with these parts of myself that I have made excuses for, or I have shushed away, or tried to suppress and bury, and then just being with them, being with their attack, being with their animosity towards me, and soothing them.
Yeah.
By just almost like an adult who's holding a child throwing a temper tantrum, and just, it's okay.
Yeah.
And that was it. I kept telling myself repeatedly, I probably said it 1,000 times that night, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay. You're okay. Like, all parts of me were okay. And I struggle with it still from time to time, but like, that was such an immense, it was just the most impactful, profound experience I've ever had with myself.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I am going to go on this slight little tangent.
Okay.
And so I have this, I don't know how to even describe it. Monsters, I love the concept of that. Because there's so much more to it. And when I say monster, you think of like, oh, something like scary, ugly, I don't want to be with it, blah, blah, blah. Monster is also a term that gets like thrown as an attack word at people too. And it takes me to like first time reading Frankenstein. And like, what is Frankenstein? Well, technically, Frankenstein's a monster. All he wanted in that story was to like feel love, experience existence. But because he was so different, he was rejected. And not just like experience the emotional parts of being rejected, but like they literally went after him to like kill him. And that happens in real life too. Sometimes when there's something that is so different, it makes people very uncomfortable, and we'll need to sanitize this kind of thing. It's just misunderstood so deeply. And again, back to this, like, I think all people want to be understood. Monsters aren't as scary as we think they are. And I love how there's like even like Maleficent and movies and stuff like that. I'm like, no, everyone has a story. Like you talked about like external influences, your family upbringing, religious stuff, things like that. I mean, I love working with clients to explore macro system things that influence them. What are like 3 significant events that happened in your lifetime that were like newsworthy? Because when I say 9/11, Columbine were 2 events that I experienced as a teenager. Developmentally, when you think of where I'm at as a teenager, I learned so much at that age just seeing that. That did influence my personality, who I am. It really taught me a lot of things. I'm like, oh yeah, people don't like when things are different. People respond differently to the feelings of rejection. And people deserve to have their ugly parts seen too. Because we go pretty wild when we are trying to delete them from ourselves. Or when we feel like we just don't belong in society because we think we're different.
Yeah.
And like we've been saying all this whole time, like, no, we're not. We're
No,
very similar.
We are. Well.
Bye.
Bye. So thank you for being here.
Yes.
We're going to have another bigger conversation.
I know. I have so many things I want to say.
I know. And so come back. Do this almost every Friday.
Okay.
And so there'll be like Lauren part 2, part 3. And then, go ahead and reach out to Lady Gaga and see if you can get her on. And then you can be the co-host for that episode.
Let me share another thing with you.
Yeah. But you have to do it into the microphone.
I do have a lot of respect for Lady Gaga. I didn't in the beginning because I was like, okay, she's like a female Marilyn Manson. It's been done before kind of thing. But it was more of this like, I just love people for who they are. Gender doesn't matter. And like, just be who you are. Loved that, obviously. I don't know if you can see how that aligns with some of my feelings.
Sure.
I literally Googled how to get a date with Lady Gaga at one point in time. Like as an adult. Curious.
Yeah.
Is it out there? I don't know. Is it possible? Probably not, but like I'm not going to say not.
Yeah.
Also, when I was in college and I was in a Spanish class, we had to write a letter to someone in Spanish. It wasn't Jim Carrey. Don't worry. It wasn't Lady Gaga. I wrote a letter to Post Malone in Spanish, asking him if he would want to eat pizza and go to an art museum with me.
So, okay. We will tag these people in the post for, Lady Gaga, if you want to come to Nashville.
For a date or a podcast.
For a podcast.
Okay.
Or Post Malone. We'll order pizza. And you can come and sit down with us and have a conversation about your own values on the 8 Domains podcast.
Don't forget Jim Carrey. He'd be happy to talk psychedelics with you.
Yes, Jim Carrey. You're also invited, as well as Jelly Roll and Theo Vaughn. These are our bucket list podcast guests.
I feel, oh God. Yeah, I don't know. I just want to say, I noticed that my 3 are all like very weird. Like there's a uniqueness to them.
Yeah. Well, and I will say, like on a more serious note, like maybe a more, not that she's not fantastic and important, but I did reach out to Democratic nominee Afton Bean. To sit down and talk about her political values and her personal values and the current climate that she's trying to flip District 7 in Tennessee to a blue district. So that would be another very cool conversation, which I'm sure she is a very important, and I'm assuming very busy person, but if she can make the time, that would also be amazing. So here's my pitch.
We provide
to
safe
Democratic
spaces.
Nominee Afton Bean.
Cool deal.
We do what?
We provide safe spaces.
Yeah, absolutely.
Please don't argue that. Don't do that here. Please.
All right, Lauren. Thank you.
Bye.
Awesome.
Okay, I will start making space on my calendar for it.
Yeah.
Also, totally glad you appreciated the goosebumps. Like,
I was aware of goosebumps. I was a little too old for it though.
You're like 3 years older than me.
You're not 40.
I'm almost 40.
How old are you? 37?
Yes.
Okay, that's not almost 40. You're in your.
It's higher than
girl
35.
math.
You're in the first year of your late 30s.
I like to say I'm almost 40 because I look like I'm doing great for that. Damn. Tell me about your skin routine.
I'm
It's lying.
7 years older than you, okay?